You're 19 years old. The letter arrives in September 1939, 3 days after Britain declares war on Germany. It doesn't say what the job is, it doesn't say where. It says you've been recommended by your maths tutor at Cambridge. It says to report to Bletchley Junction on the morning of the 4th. It says to tell no one. Your mother thinks you're going to be a typist for the War Office. You let her think that. The pay is £2 per week. That's less than a factory girl makes assembling shell casings in Coventry. You take it anyway. You arrive at Bletchley on a Tuesday. The train pulls into a station you've never heard of, in a town that doesn't appear on any tourist map. A man in a brown suit meets you at the platform. He doesn't introduce himself. He drives you 3 miles to a Victorian mansion sitting in 58 acres of wet English countryside. The building is ugly. Red brick, mock Tudor turrets. The kind of place a railway baron built to impress his mistress. They tell you it's called Bletchley Park. They tell you nothing else. Before they tell you the job, they hand you a document. The Official Secrets Act, 1939. You sign it. The man in the brown suit explains what you've just agreed to. If you tell anyone what you do here, you go to prison. If you write it in a diary, you go to prison. If you talk in your sleep and a maid overhears you, the maid goes to prison. And so do you. This applies to your mother, to your father, to the boy you were engaged to before the war started. He's fighting in France right now. If he writes you a letter asking what your work is, you write back, "I'm a typist for the War Office. It's terribly dull." You will keep this secret for 30 years. You don't know that yet. Then they take you to Hut 6. The hut is wooden, single-story, smells of damp and ozone. There are 40 women inside working at long tables under bare light bulbs. Nobody looks up when you walk in. They show you the machine, 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide. 600 pounds of brass, copper and bakelite. 36 rotating drums on the front, each one mimicking the wheels of a German Enigma machine. They call it a bomb. It was designed by a 27-year-old maths fellow named Alan Turing. You'll see him around the grounds sometimes. Tall, awkward, chains his coffee mug to the radiator so nobody steals it. He doesn't make eye contact when he speaks to you. He doesn't make eye contact with anyone. Your job is to operate the bomb. You wire it according to a setting derived from intercepted German radio traffic. You start the machine. It runs through 17,576 possible combinations until it finds the one that matches the day's Enigma key. The machine is hot. The hut is loud. The drums clatter for hours. By the end of your first shift, your ears ring and your fingers are bleeding from cuts on the wire terminals. Your supervisor looks at the cuts and hands you a roll of gauze. "You'll get used to it," she says. You don't ask what the messages say. You're not allowed to know. You work 8-hour shifts, then 9, then 12, then whatever the war demands. You live in a cold cottage 3 miles away with 5 other girls. You bicycle to Bletchley in the dark. You bicycle home in the dark. In winter, your hair freezes to your scarf. You learn the rules. Don't talk about work in the canteen. Don't talk about work in the dormitory. Don't write letters that mention machines, ciphers, Germans, Italians, anything. If your hut number appears on a Christmas card by accident, the card disappears, and a man in a grey suit asks you questions for 4 hours. By 1942, there are 200 bombs operating across Britain. By 1943, there are 9,000 people working at Bletchley. 75% of them are women. Most are between 18 and 25. Some are 17. Some lied about their age to get the job. None of them ever tell their families what they actually do. It happens for the first time in April 1941. You're working a night shift. Your machine catches a setting at 3:14 in the morning. The supervisor reads the translation off the teleprinter, and her face goes blank. You catch a fragment of it before she takes it away. Coordinates. A wolf pack of U-boats. 12 submarines lying in wait for a convoy of Canadian merchant ships carrying wheat and steel, and 4,000 soldiers across the Atlantic. The convoy diverts. Every man on it lives. They will never know why their ship suddenly changed course on the night of the 14th. Their captain will never know either. The orders came from London, signed by an admiral who had no idea where the intelligence originated. This is the rule. Nobody outside Bletchley knows Bletchley exists. Not Churchill's cabinet, not the captains who receive the orders, not the soldiers whose lives are saved by your work. You go back to your machine. You wire it for the next day's key. You don't tell anyone, not even your roommates, that you just saved 4,000 lives before breakfast. Sometimes you decode a message and you know what it means. November 14th, 1940. A signal comes through about Operation Moonlight Sonata. A German bombing raid on a city in the Midlands. You don't know which city. The intelligence is incomplete. By the time the analysts piece it together, it's too late to evacuate without revealing that Britain can read Enigma. Coventry burns. 568 dead. 4,300 houses destroyed. The cathedral reduced to a roofless shell. You hear about it on the radio the next morning, exactly the way ordinary Britons hear about it. You can't react. You can't say anything. You can't be the girl who knew. You go to your shift. You wire your machine. You catch the next setting. 3 years later, historians will argue about whether Churchill could have warned the city. He couldn't. If the Germans learned Enigma was broken, every advantage you ever gained would vanish overnight. The war would extend by years. Millions more would die. You understood this on November 14th, 1940. You will spend the rest of your life trying to be sure you understood it. The war ends on May 8th, 1945. London erupts. Strangers kiss in Trafalgar Square. Sailors swing from lampposts. Every pub in Britain runs out of beer by 8 in the evening. You're at Bletchley. Your supervisor calls you into Hut 6 and gives you a final instruction. You are to take your 200 bomb machines, each one a marvel of British engineering, and you are to break them apart with sledgehammers. You spend 3 weeks doing it. You smash drums, snip wires, melt down the brass for scrap. By June, there is nothing left to prove the machines ever existed. The huts are emptied. The blueprints are burned. The technical manuals are pulped. You are given £10 and a railway ticket home. You are reminded that the Official Secrets Act still applies. It applies forever. You go back to your village. Your mother asks what you did during the war. You say, "I was a typist for the War Office. It was terribly dull." She believes you. She will believe you until she dies in 1971, still convinced her daughter spent 6 years filing paperwork in Buckinghamshire. You marry in 1949. Your husband is a chartered accountant. He fought in North Africa. He has stories about Tobruk that he likes to tell at dinner parties. You laugh in the right places. You never tell yours. You have 3 children. They grow up believing their mother had a boring war. Their father had the interesting one. He has medals. You have a railway ticket stub you can never show anyone. In 1967, a book is published about Enigma. It claims the codes were broken by the Poles. Mostly. You read it. You say nothing. In 1974, a man named Frederick Winterbotham publishes The Ultra Secret. He was an MI6 officer. He has permission. The government has finally decided to declassify what happened at Bletchley. You're 54 years old. You're reading the book in your kitchen. Your husband walks in. He sees the title and asks what it's about. You look up. For the first time in 35 years, you answer the question. He sits down. He doesn't get up for a long time. Historians will later estimate that the work done at Bletchley Park shortened the war in Europe by between 2 and 4 years. They will estimate it saved somewhere between 14 and 21 million lives. Alan Turing committed suicide in 1954. He was prosecuted for being homosexual. The country he saved chemically castrated him. He died eating a poisoned apple. Of the 9,000 people who worked at Bletchley, fewer than 100 ever received public recognition during their lifetimes. You never receive a medal. You never appear on a memorial. The government issues a commemorative badge in 2009, 60 years after the war ended. You're 89 when it arrives in the post. Your husband has been dead for 11 years. Your children open the envelope for you because your hands shake too much. You signed the Official Secrets Act in September 1939. You kept it for the rest of your life. Nobody asked you to. By then, you didn't know how to stop.